This portion of the news brought to you by McDonald's. McDonald's, I'm loving it.
The Organization of American States is looking to fine-tune its data collection on drug use in the region, meeting this week with drug and alcohol treatment representatives to firm up the data collection process.
They concluded sessions today at the Treasury Department, and as David Ramsey, the Supply Reduction Officer, Anti-Drug Secretariat notes, local drug use data point to younger abusers.
There seems to be an increase in the use of marijuana and alcohol amongst school children. And the age seems, when we compared with the 2008 survey, we seems to even see an increase in the age level dropping to much lower. Even we understand that there's also primary school children who are using, especially alcohol. And most of this alcohol sometimes comes from right in the home.
Drug specialist with the Organization of American States, Pernell Clark, notes that securing information on drug use in the region is key to policy development on local and international levels.
We were able to get things like what were the average age of persons going into these centers seeking treatment. We know the vast majority of them are males, of course. The average age varied from country to country. And it depended on the type of institutions that were involved. We were able to see what were the substances that were driving persons to seek treatment, things like marijuana, alcohol, and cocaine addiction. And we were also able to get some information about their criminal justice histories and the types of substances that they have used in the last 30 days prior to their entry into the treatment facility. In addition to that, interestingly, we were able to look at other variables such as level of education, employment, status, and things like that to try to paint a clear picture of the profile of these individuals entering these facilities.
From the courts, a 26-year-old man was charged with manslaughter today. Police say Don Andrew Wallace of Yellow Elder did cause the death of Mario Allen last Saturday. He was not required to enter a plea to the charge and bail was denied. The matter was adjourned to May 23rd and will proceed by a voluntary bill of indictment. In the meantime, he's remanded to Her Majesty's prison. Well, also from court today, 2 Bahamian pilots and a Canadian man were arraigned in the magistrate's court. 48-year-old Murillo Aline Sullivan of Turtle Drive, Bel Air Estates, 37-year-old Darrell Elmer Bartlett of Pink Coral Drive, and 23-year-old Michael Aaron Webster of Quebec, Canada, were charged with possession of dangerous drugs with the intent to supply, conspiracy to possess dangerous drugs with the intent to supply, and importation of dangerous drugs. On Monday, officials searched a Hawker jet which had just arrived at LPIA from Montreal and found the drugs. The men pleaded not guilty to all of the charges and were remanded to Her Majesty's prison until they return to court on June 19th.
If you haven't started thinking about a pension fund, now is the best time to do so in advance of your retirement age. To help persons prepare for their financial future, Royal Fidelity hosted a pension breakfast under the theme Pensions and Industry in Transition at the British Colonial Hilton Hotel this morning. It's anticipated that the public would be more aware of what finances they need to have in place before they retire. Royal Fidelity's Executive President Michael Anderson maintains it's never too late to start, but given the culture of the region, a mandatory pension needs to be implemented.
I think at the end of the day, to be honest, unless it's made mandatory, I think most Bahamians will not actually get round to doing pensions. And so hopefully at some stage along the next few years, the government finds a way to actually implement a mandatory pension scheme. At this stage, it's not meant to be mandatory. At this stage, they're simply trying to formalise how the pension industry works in the Bahamas. But a lot of other countries have actually moved forward with mandatory pensions. And I think the difficulty, if you know you're going to get to retirement at some point and people are not saving, you have a country of people that don't have enough money to live when they retire. So it's not really a great prospect for most countries to look at it that way. So I think the sooner we actually get round to making people save, which is a hard thing to do, but I think we need to get round to doing that.
Pension manager at Royal Fidelity, Cleora Farquharson, outlined just how much money you will need to live once you retire.
In order to ensure a comfortable retirement, an individual really requires between 70 to 80% of their pre-retirement income to live comfortably post-retirement. That's provided they don't have any debt. If that's the case, for instance, say a mortgage, they're actually going to need about 100 to 120% of their retirement income. So if you're someone retiring making about $50,000, you're going to need roughly $2,000 to $3,000 per month. And if you have a mortgage, it actually jumps to about $5,000 to $6,000 per month. Then what a lot of persons don't realize is you have to live another 20 to 30 years in retirement. So when you multiply those numbers, you could need anywhere from $800,000 to $1 million, depending on how you want to live in retirement.
Medical tourism already showing signs of becoming a promising niche market for the country.
And Public Hospitals Authority Chairman Frank Smith says even ahead of the opening of the Princess Margaret Hospital's new critical care block, inquiries from abroad are already coming in as more and more people are beginning to show interest in seeking health care here in the
Shanique Miller tells us more.
It's the single largest investment in healthcare in the country. And now there is light at the end of the tunnel for Princess Margaret Hospital's multi-million-dollar critical care block. PHA Chairman Frank Smith says the work to make it ready is winding down.
The physical construction of the new critical care block at the Princess Margaret Hospital nears completion at a cost of $88 million, and efforts continue to secure staffing and develop existing staff capabilities, acquire equipment, and we are seeking to do so at a quick but sure pace.
The critical care block with its suites of operating theaters and ICU is just the beginning of an initiative that began 3 years ago to modernize healthcare services here in the Bahamas. Even while the 4-story complex is being completed, work is now starting on another area to make available much-needed space and, as Senator Smith pointed out, reduce the tedious waiting time at the state-run hospital.
We've already seen the relocation of core services, like laboratory services, to the critical care block, which have resulted in more physical space in the original sections of the old Princess Margaret Hospital. This space will be repurposed to address existing overcrowding challenges in clinical areas like accident and emergency and the trauma room. We can only imagine the positive impact this will have on reducing waiting times and increasing patient satisfaction in these critical areas. Madam President, once this is completed, it is expected that this major healthcare investment will reap multiple benefits, including improved access to critical care beds for adults and babies, reduced waiting times for surgical interventions, improved surgical outcomes, improved quality of care through the use of modern medical and information technologies, including telemedicine, enhanced diagnostic capacity in a modern laboratory environment.
Already, you've heard the government's plans to partner with the University of Miami and bring its stem cell research program here. The government has made no secret of the potential boost stem cell can bring to the economy. Inquiries and interests have started coming in from other countries as well. Ahead of any launch, the Public Hospitals Authority is equipping locals in the industry so they can benefit. As he made his contribution to the mid-year budget, Smith talked about how that's being done.
The government has organized and encouraged extensive consultative meetings with a broad spectrum of relevant stakeholders across the Commonwealth of the Bahamas. The Medical Advisors Office of the PHA has been involved in the development of the Stem Cell Act, which passed in Parliament and now is awaiting approval of the regulations by Cabinet. And there's a draft MOU, which is with the Ministry of Health and with the PHA to allow for training of Bahamians and an exchange of expertise.
Though he did not provide an opening date for the critical care block, Smith says with enhanced facilities and offerings, medical tourism in the Bahamas is set to explode. Shanique Miller, ZNS Network News.
Crime and the fight to restore peace and tranquility in the country was a main topic for many senators during debate on the mid-year budget. During her wrap-up last night, Senate Government Leader, Attorney General and Minister of Legal Affairs, Senator the Honorable Allison Maynard Gibson, talked about the impact of the Swift Justice Program.
So far, we've been able to have, and these are simply murders. These are only murders, Madam President. There are others as well, murders. 3 since May 2012, brought on within a year. 3. That's less than 2 years ago. This is how the system is being revamped. There's some murders out there that are 6, 7 years old. 3. In less than 2 years, 18, Madam President, 18 murders tried in less than 2 years. In less than 3 years, Madam President, 34 murders. This is the pie chart. 18, 34 in less than 3 years. And in more than 3 years, 39 murders, Madam President. The importance is to show that as we deal with the 3 defined reasonable period of time, which are these 3 colors, we are also effectively dealing with the backlog, Madam President. So the country's team, the country's swift justice team, thankfully, with God's help, is succeeding.
Coming up in ZNS Total Sports, the road to a championship in Night League basketball. We've got the highlights. You're watching The Bahamas Tonight.
This portion of the news was brought to you by McDonald's. McDonald's, I'm loving it.
Your Royal Fidelity Business News. I'm LaDawn Davis. Family-owned company Salt Chuck Alaska Shipping Line, Ocean Trailer Express, and trucking company Interstate Distribution announced this week it will buy Tropical Shipping, a shipping distribution and insurance company serving the Bahamas and the Caribbean. The move will complement the company's Sea Star line, which serves Puerto Rico with American flag vessels. The Tropical Shipping deal is expected to close within 90 days. Tropical Shipping valued the purchase at more than $200 million. Palm Key, located in southeastern New Providence, delivered a key component of its commitment to community building this week. The Palm Key Marina and Beach Club features the flagship Billfish Grill. Construction took more than 6 months as a former 2.5-story clubhouse was transformed into a state-of-the-art restaurant. The launch of the 126-seat restaurant created more than 20 jobs, a number that will grow when its hours extend to lunch in the coming weeks. And in international business news, the Greek government revealed today that the sale of its long-term debt was 8 times oversubscribed. Greece's deputy prime minister said demand for €3 billion worth of 5-year bonds proved the country's debt is sustainable. The sale attracted interest from 550 investors. Greece is returning to the capital markets for the first time since its economy nearly collapsed in 2010. This is the Royal Fidelity Business News. I'm LaDawn Davis.